Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Mondays. This is episode 35. So this week, guys, I made a good start on my veteran squad for 2nd Platoon, and this will be a fully decked out plasma veteran squad. So I was able to complete the sergeant for the squad and also one of the plasma gunners, which I know is quite a small amount of painting for 1 week, but I also had to do all the building and bits and converting and restoring on the guys themselves. So the other 8 models for the unit is 2 more plasma gun guys and 6 riflemen. They have also been fully restored, so they've been stripped down, they've been scrubbed. They've had when you strip the models down, they tend to fall apart a little bit, so you have to build them back together. And then I've done all the head swaps for them as well. The rest of the models, the 2 that I got painted are metal miniatures. The rest of them are plastic. So it's a bit of a mixed composition squad there, mixed material. The interesting thing is I've gone for to represent the fact that these are veterans, and also to represent the fact that the Mordian 50th Rifles is a regiment that, whilst has a hardened steel iron core of Iron Guard, they obviously do recruit from every regiment that gets folded into them, and every world that they liberate or they fight on. So they do have a lot of other mixed regiments in the ranks. And so as a result, what I did is with this veteran squad, I didn't give them all the parade ground caps. I had loads of Scion beret heads left over, and I've decided I want to incorporate some of the beret heads into the army. Because I just think they'll look really, really good. So, and you get loads of the Scion. Each Scion box comes with about 10 beret heads alone. So that's really good. So what I've done is I have 5 of the guys with the parade caps from Anvil Industries. And then I have 2 of the plasma gun guys with beret heads. 1 of the riflemen with a beret head. And then, as you can see, I've got these 2 metal models, so I haven't converted these 2. So you will get to see the beret heads next week. They do work quite well. Just so people are aware, the Scion neck joints are a bit deeper than the regular Cadian ones, so you do have to trim them down. But it's only the same as if you were using Anvil Industry heads, which also have quite a long neck, so you end up having to trim them down a bit. So that's what isn't on the pictures for this week, but that is coming up next week. This week I focused on the 2 classic metal miniatures in the squad. The first one being the Sergeant, which is actually an old Colonel Schaffer model. Now, Colonel Schaffer is a very interesting model, very interesting character, I should say, from old Imperial Guard lore. He was the commanding officer of the 13th Penal Legion. Great set of books. If you haven't read them, go and read the Last Chances Omnibus. Some real classic Guard stories in there. And to be honest, a lot of my sort of fond memories of reading Warhammer books when growing up as a kid are from me reading the Last Chances series. They're really, really good. They're probably not as well known as like the Gaunt's Ghosts series, but the first few Last Chances books were written around the same time as the Gaunt's Ghosts book, and everyone agrees that those first few Gaunt's Ghosts books were absolutely fantastic. So you owe it to yourself to go and give them a read. So yeah, he is. So for those that don't know, Colonel Schaffer leads the 13th Penal Legion, known as the Last Chances. Their sort of fluff is that they are a penal battalion of all just the worst heretics, traitors, rapists, looters, arsonists, just flat out just the worst people from all the Imperial Guard regiments. And what Colonel Schaffer does is he gets all of these guys together and then just leads them into unwinnable situations, and somehow they pull through, but loads of them die every time. So he'll start off with like 10,000 people, and he'll lead them into a battle, and maybe like 5,000 will come out, because they'll do like that he will lead them into like a rear guard action, a delaying action against like a orc war. You know, the rest of the planet is getting smashed. They need a regiment to hold the orcs off for as long as possible. They're not expected to survive. Colonel Schaffer leads in the 13th Penal Legion, the Last Chances. Because the reason they're called the Last Chances is everyone gets one last chance to prove themselves for the Emperor. And in the Last Chances, there is a real chance of you getting pardoned. There's two ways you get pardoned. You either get pardoned when you die, because that way you've given your life for the Emperor, or in theory you can get pardoned when you complete enough missions, but no one's ever been really pardoned the latter way. Most of the time people just die. But the books are absolute. But Colonel Schaffer always makes it through. Always makes it through. And he is an absolutely ruthless leader. He cares not a single jot for the men under his command because they're all scum. But he's weirdly unkillable. He will always be in the thickest part of the fighting. Like in the first short story that they were introduced in, The Last Chances, they're defending a planet from a Tyranid scouting force. So it's not the full main fleet that has turned up. It's just a single bioship, and they have to hold this fort long enough for the Imperial reinforcements to turn up. There isn't enough of them to survive indefinitely, but the Tyranids need to kill them because this is the main point of resistance on the planet, and the Tyranids need to get rid of them in order to be able to harvest the planet in peace. So Colonel Schaffer is always in the thickest of the fighting, and there's one point when they're fighting around the gatehouse, and he is just in the most thickest part of the fighting, and a hive tyrant turns up with like a whole just like brood of Tyranid warriors, and everyone is just dying around him. But Colonel Schaffer, one of the best moments is a Tyranid warrior looms up behind him without breaking stride. He just turns around, chops its legs out from underneath it with his power sword, and then fills its face full of bolt rounds before moving on to the next one. Like, this Tyranid warrior had the drop on him, but he just doesn't die. Like, it's so cool. So a lot of the men think he's not actually human, like he's some sort of manifestation of the Emperor's will to come to punish them for breaking the law, or he's just, quite honestly, he's just a demon who's in human skin, because there's no way he should survive half the stuff he gets into. So yeah, absolutely. So I love this model. I've had it for a really, really long time. I always, in previous editions, I struggled to find a home for it, because it was a model with a power sword and a plasma pistol, and in previous editions, power swords and plasma pistols were very expensive. In fact, power swords used to be 15 points, and plasma pistols used to be 15 points. So that's 30 points on a 20-point model. So you had to increase the price of the model by, I think, like 150% to field this guy. Yeah, he did have rules back in like 3rd and 4th edition, but yeah, it's been so there was a long time when I couldn't really justify using him, because I always like to try and play WYSIWYG, and even if I just used the power sword as like just a machete and didn't use it as a power weapon, it wasn't, you didn't want to run around with the plasma pistol. So thanks to 8th edition, this model's got a new lease on life, because power swords and plasma pistols are now dirt cheap. There are only 9 points for the both of those. So whilst I am still putting 9 points of equipment on a 5-point veteran sergeant, it's not too bad, because his plasma complements the rest of the plasma in the squad. So there we go. So really like this model, absolute classic, relatively common. If you like the look of this guy, you can pick them up on eBay for normally less than £10, which some people will go, £10 for a single model, that's quite expensive. Well, if you buy most of these new characters coming out of Games Workshop directly from Games Workshop, you're looking at like 20 quid for one character. So this guy's a bargain in comparison to the new Games Workshop prices for characters. He is multi-part. Amazingly, his sword arm does need gluing in, so you can position that a little bit. So that's the first model. Absolutely love it. Classic bit of history. You guys know I love mixing in these retro models in and amongst my army so that the character gets spread out across the army. Because I've got a few last chances in the force now, and what I like to do is, I've got like a random Catachan, and I've got like an old classic Cadian, and I've kit bashed some models with Scion bits, and there's loads of little. Not every squad looks the same, and the reason I like to spread out, especially the classic metal minis, is if you put them all in one place, what you tend to find is they look too different to the rest of the army. You've got this squad of classic metal minis that just don't fit alongside the remaining Cadian or Cadian conversions that you've got. So what I like to do is I like to sprinkle the old models throughout the army, because that way it gives a little bit of charm to each squad, because there is a risk with the Cadian models, if you don't do any converting on them, that they look very samey across the whole army, which is why I like to try and make every single squad unique, and I've successfully done that with 12 infantry squads and a veteran squad, and now another veteran squad. So it is possible to, if you just to put a little one unique model in each squad, maybe two, a couple of conversions, add a backpack here and there, add a beret head here and there. It spreads the characterfulness out across the army, and the army still looks uniform, but it doesn't look monopose and boring. There's charm and character in every squad, but they also look like they all belong in the same force, it's a very difficult thing to balance. I don't always get it right, but one thing that I have learned during this project is how to get that balance, more or less right each time, which is good. So speaking of classic metal miniatures, the next one is the Plasma Gunner. Now, most people will get their plasma gunners from the Cadian or Catachan Command Squad box, which comes with a plasma gun and a melter gun, or you can buy, and I believe you can still do this, from Games Workshop, so I will just double check now because I don't want to be talking out of my derriere, but you can buy a little box, little blister pack, as we used to call it back in the day, of Imperial Guard special weapons. And it's quite simply just two guys for about a tenner, which there we go. Two guys for about a tenner, which come with a melter gun and a plasma gun. So let's see if they still do it. Yes, they do, and it is, guess what, exactly £10. So you don't have to buy the expensive Command Squad box each time. You can just, for the same price as a Command Squad box, you can get 4 special weapons that you actually want if you buy them straight from Games Workshop. 2 melter guns, 2 plasma guns. Now, be warned, these are monopose models, so if you exclusively buy, the plasma guns and melter guns in these blister packs, then you're going to have a bit of a monopose looking army. But they're a very good way of supplementing your Command Squad boxes, and also they're a little bit of history as well, because this used to be the only way you could get special weapons. They didn't used to make plastic special weapons outside of grenade launchers and flamers. And yeah, these guys are a nice way of getting your hands on, if you just need a little boost. If you're like, God, I just need a couple extra of the heavy hitters, the melter guns, the plasma guns. I don't want to be messing around with grenade launchers and flamers anymore. This is the easy way to do it. There is another way of doing plasma guns, obviously, is to convert them. Because you can get from the Space Marine part of the Games Workshop website, you can get 5 melter guns or 5 plasma guns for a really decent price. I will find that for you now, because I know it's saw it today. It's like £5 or £6. It's nothing. Like it's like Games Workshop, £6. So you can buy 5 plasma guns for £6. And yes, they are Space Marine plasma guns, but no, you can't tell the difference. You literally can't tell the difference. It looks like it's a gloved hand on a plasma gun. And I know loads of people who have used these parts to convert up their guardsmen. So it does obviously require you to be confident with a hobby knife and to be confident with converting guardsmen. But the cheapest way that you can get your hands on loads and loads of plasma gun guys is to buy these parts from Games Workshop and then just convert them up. But if that's not an option and you don't want to buy millions of Command Squad boxes, the other option is this blister pack. And I really like this model, and even though it's just a basic plasma gun guy, I actually spent quite a lot of time on this guy. Even did the hazard stripes on the power cable, which I plan on going back and doing for all the special weapons when I sort of start refurbing first platoon after finishing second platoon. Even though he's just a basic plasma gun guy, I have a real soft spot in my heart for this model because it's the only one I have in my army, and I've got loads and loads of the monopose melter gun guys, loads of them. Must have probably like at least 5, could easily be 10. Because people were always selling off melter guns, but people like to keep hold of the plasma guns. And I've ever since I've seen this model, I've always thought it looked really good. Like the expression of the guy's face is obviously he's not super happy about the situation he's in. He's obviously just, you know, the plasma guns had to come out, and you know plasma can overheat and kill yourself. But this guy's like, he's just like, I gotta do it. I gotta fire the plasma gun. So I really like that sort of. It almost looks like desperation on the guy's face. It looks really, really good. I love these classic metal minis because you can often tell that the sculptor didn't really know what to do with some parts in the model, which I find quite endearing. So the plasma gun looks great. I love the targeting screen on the thing. It reminds me of the targeting things from Alien. You know, on the handheld motion trackers, but built into the gun. But what I especially like is the backpack. What I think is goofy about this model is the backpack, because it's like, obviously you've got to have a power pack for this guardsman's plasma gun. I mean, no one else does, but this one obviously needs it. Because it's a guardsman one, right? And then the guy was like, but what detail do I put on this thing? I mean, it's just a power pack. It's just a block of metal. And so obviously the designer's like, what if I just put these like strips of something on the back of the model? Maybe there'll be like a heat sink. Maybe. I don't know, but let's do that and see how it comes out. As it turns out, it does look stupid, but it also looks quite, like I said, quite endearing. It's obviously a bit of a flaw in the model. They didn't know what to do with the backpack, but I really like it because it's unique. You don't see that anywhere else. It's a unique sculpt, and it's quite cool. I like it. I also like that you don't see this anywhere, as far as I can remember, in the Games Workshop line with these plasma guns and melter guns. This sort of, I want to call it like hip firing. Like they're not aiming it, are they? It's not an aimed weapon like the current ones are. It's basically like just like, imagine how people like fire miniguns in real life. If you've ever seen the film Predators, the third Predator film, and there's that Spetsnaz guy with the minigun, he doesn't aim that thing. He sort of just blasts from the hip with it. This is what this guy's doing. He's not aiming it. He's got his targeting thing, and he's just like, you know, firing off plasma bolts, and he's not having a great time, but you know, it just looks cool. Like he's obviously, what he's pointing that thing at is something big and horrible. If you look at the angle of it, he's either just let a shot off and he's dealing with a recoil, or he is pointing that as like a big like Tyranid Khan effect, which is right in front of him. Yeah, that's how I remember it. That's how I like to imagine it. I mean, so it is cool. I like this model. So how I so that's all the hobby progress. I did mention it briefly, but I'll talk about it again. Once this veteran squad is completed, that is second platoon finished. Okay, completely. I think there might be 1 or 2 squads at the beginning of second platoon which didn't get the edge highlighting and dry brushing treatment, so I'll be going back and doing them. And then I also need to complete 1 5-man Scion squad, and the Scion squad will be when that's done, I'll have 2,000 points. So when I have done second platoon's veteran squad and that little Scion squad, I will then be completely free to go back over and bring up first platoon to the same standard, because none of first platoon has got any edge highlighting or dry brushing. And part of that restoration as well, I will be adding the little hazard stripes to the models, because what I've found is that the little bits of black and yellow really help to brighten up the add that final little touch of brightening up a squad. Because you can imagine, if you have black and yellow on all the models, it looks good on the Bullgrins, but on the basic guard it might start looking a bit strange if every model has it. So on the chainsaws I'm going to add it, which will be cool, and also to the special weapon of each squad, and because every squad's got a flamer or a melter gun pretty much, apart from maybe a few grenade launchers. But the grenade launcher squads have got sergeants with chainsaws, so the sergeant with chainsaws will get the hazard stripes there. So every squad will have that little touch of brightness in the form of hazard stripes, which will look cool, really cool. Won't be overdone, won't overdo it, but I will have it consistently as a theme across the army. Little sub-genre, sub-theme running through the army. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited for it. Yes, a little bit behind schedule. I was hoping to have second platoon finished with this squad finished by the end of February. As it turns out, I actually spent most of this week, I should have said this, I spent most of this week doing those bloody hats on those Bullgrins. They sucked another week out of me, basically. So it did take me 6 weeks to do that squad, essentially. Not ideal. Well, 5.5 weeks. 5.5 weeks. But I predict it's a difficult one. I'm away with work for a lot of this week, so I'm going to struggle to get as much painting done as I want to. But which also means there will be no video on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, just to make people aware. There will be videos on Thursdays and Friday. So because of that, I think I'm going to struggle to get the veteran squad finished this week, because I need to base them all when I get a chance. So I'm going to aim to get them done by the end of this week, but I suspect it may not be till partway through next week. So this squad might take me a bit longer to do. So the new revised plan is, bearing in mind that I have some busy weekends coming up and my March is looking very busy, the new revised plan is actually to have the 2,000 point army done by the end of this month. So that is to get the veteran squad finished and the Scion squad finished by the end of the month. Not an ambitious deadline, I'm not going to lie. It does give me 30 days. Yep, give me, not 30 days, Jesus Christ. Gives me 4 weeks to get this done. So maybe I should be able to, because I've got 13 men to paint, and that gives me 2 days to paint each guy roughly. So we'll see how it goes. We shall see how it goes. But that's it, guys. That's it from the hobby point of view. So tactics wise, I'm not going to go into it too much yet. I have 2 veteran squads in the army now. Well, I will have 2 veteran squads, but I can only outflank one of them with the Dagger of Chusaka, which will be the first one that I always outflank, just as per tradition. So I think this second squad is a plasma veteran squad, so there is the risk that it will just get blasted off the board straight away, which would be a shame. So the plan is to walk these guys behind the Bulgrins and to make use of the new Bulgrin stratagem to make a -1 to hit, which should deter people from shooting at them. And if they're not shooting, and if they do shoot at them, then they're not shooting at the Bulgars necessarily, or they're not shooting at another squad. So it's you know it's you can always get some sort of tactical advantage out of it. But assuming all goes to plan, what this means in my 2,000 point list is I have 4 squads of Scions with 4 plasma guns. There's 1 on each squad. No, there's 3 plasma guns and a melter gun, and then like some flamers and other stuff. We don't care about that. So I will have 4 plasma guns in my Scions dropping down. I will have another 3 plasma guns and a plasma pistol outflanking from Dagger of Tusaka, and then I'll have another plasma squad marching up behind the Bulgrin. So I actually have a decent amount of plasma. Look at 12 plasma weapons that can be safely overcharged in the army, and then you've got backing that, which is a decent amount of plasma. It's not an ideal amount. An ideal amount is plasma in every infantry squad and triple veterans with plasma and all the sounds of plasma. Just plasma. But it's a good amount for the fluffy list that I'm going for. It gives me a nice core of plasma to draw upon. And then backing all that plasma up is just 100 and it's just a big squad of Bulgrins and a decent sized squad of Ogrins and 90 guardsmen with flames and melticons charging up the field with power swords ready to tear limb from limb. So yeah, it's a good solid fighting force. I did have a comment, and I'm gonna end it here. I did have a comment. Someone saying last week you said you were going to go for the wilderness survivors and the disciplined shooters regiment trait, and now you're saying you're going for the Lord's approval slum fighters route. Why? Make your mind up. It's like, okay, let me explain. With the army that I am building as part of the Great Mordian Restoration Project, that is a more close combat focused army. So I will definitely be using the close combat custom traits. When I have painted up enough guardsmen to be able to field 18 plasma guns in 18 infantry squads, then I will most certainly, don't you worry, I'll most certainly be running the wilderness survival guys. Most certainly. Hopefully I'll get that done before Games Workshop invalidates the Greater Good Psychic Awakening book, but we will never. Hopefully that book will be good for another 12 months. That's all I hope. Hopefully it'll be good for 12 months, because I predict that I will be able to run my perfect guardsman, shooty, daiquiri, rapid fire army in about 3 months' time. That would be the ideal plan. So guys, that's it. A little bit of tactics on surrounding the veterans. A little bit of insights on how I plan on running the army. Lots of talk about the models and the history behind them and what's coming up next. Bit of a softer episode of Mordian Mondays. I appreciate that, but it's been a relatively slow week on the painting front. But hopefully, I'll still be able to get the remaining 8 veterans done this week. Fingers crossed. Although I suspect there will be a delay. But that's it. So after the veterans comes the Scions. After the Scions comes the restoration of First Platoon. Just touching up. Don't think that'll take me too long. All I've got to do is edge highlighting and dry brushing. I can do that pretty quickly. All the washing's done, so it's just edge highlighting and dry brushing. So should be able to smash a 10-man squad out almost like a night, at least every within 2 nights. So it's going to be what would be great to aim for would be by the end of March. End of March of 2nd Platoon and the Scions just done. And then end of April have 1st Platoon fully touched up with all the edge highlighting and dry brushing. I don't think it'll take me that long, but we'll see. Which will mean I will have by the end of April, 2,000 points perfected. And that means, guys, tournaments. I can spend the second half of the year tournamenting. Maybe, you know, I probably with this army. Even if I'm just going to lose loads of games, I can still do it. You know, which I think would be really cool. Yeah, get the old Mordian 50th rifle, just bashing some skulls in at events. Never know, it might work. So there you go, guys. That's what we'll finish on that sort of little cliffhanger, a little finish with that little tease at the end. Let me know what you guys think of the old plasma gunner. Yay or nay? Do you like the sculpt? Do you think it's goofy? And of course, let me know how your hobby projects are going on. Without further ado, I'll see you guys next time.